brand new mayor, Zohran Mamdani, less than 24 hours after the confetti hit the floor, has already got his hands out, begging for cash to fund his transition team. Translation, you foot the bill while he rides the victory wave.
Mamdani just posted a video saying that his first order of business on day one is going to be for the city to take ownership of people's private property.
You guys want to talk about the election for a minute? How you doing, boss? How's it going, sir? You have a minute? Excuse me, ma'am. How you doing, boss? Why is it that you don't feel as confident?
Man, this one has New York buzzing in a whole new way. Right after Zohran Mamdani's victory, 50 Cent's camp quietly brought in a private investigator. And if these leaked notes are legit, that investigator might have uncovered something way bigger than taxes or a rent freeze. Word is, public funds, your tax dollars, might be cycling right back around to patch up Mamdani's own financial mess.
He's going to take away the building if the landlord can't afford to make renovations. The city will step in and do it, but then they'll take away the building if the landlord can't afford it.
Now, before anyone tries to slap the politics label on this, here's why this situation hits differently. The investigator, one of 50's long-rumored legal cleanup guys, according to a now-deleted Reddit post, allegedly uncovered a trail of budget drafts in the mayor-elect's transition folder that linked debt relief allocations to urban restoration funds. Those are the same funds supposedly meant to repair dangerous buildings across NYC. But the paperwork hints they may also be covering repayments to lenders who once floated Mamdani's old campaign debts. And that's exactly what 50 Cent viewed as a setup. Y'all already know he's been clowning Mamdani for months, calling him Karl Marx with an MTA Metro card. But this time he didn't fire off memes. He bankrolled surveillance. So what did the PI uncover? He started with Mamdani's housing initiative, the program that flags landlords for hazardous conditions. On paper, it sounds heroic. Protect tenants, fix risks. Straightforward, but buried in the fine print. If a landlord can't cover the repair costs the city advances, the city takes over the property.
Be dangerous. And when a really bad landlord, like this guy, refuses to fix it, the city's gonna step in, make the repairs, and send them the bill. If that doesn't work, the city's taking over the building. We're putting the worst landlords out of business.
Freeze the rents, jack up the fines, seize the property, and run it back again. That's not reform. That's a slow-motion government takeover of private ownership. Exactly what critics have been sounding the alarm about word for word.
Number two, he's then going to give these people fines because they're not doing the repairs, and these fines are going to be huge. Then once the city comes back in and says, oh, you know what, you didn't do the repairs, you didn't pay the fines, we are now going to take your property because you are an unfit landlord.
Now here's where it gets crazy. Those same emergency repair funds are allegedly backed by bonds underwritten by firms that also finance Mamdani's campaign vendors. So picture this. The city cuts checks to companies fixing condemned buildings, and the money flows through the same network that supposedly helped wipe out Mamdani's old student debt. You couldn't script that. 50's team reportedly flagged all this to a financial crimes contact, a guy who once handled corruption audits in Albany. The memo allegedly uses the phrase potential cross-collateralization of municipal restoration funds with personal campaign liabilities. That's accounting code for using one pile of taxpayer money to patch another hole, your own. When this memo hit a local blog, it exploded overnight. A Mamdani spokesperson dismissed it as baseless speculation pushed by entertainers, but just hours later, Governor Kathy Hochul herself backed away from his free bus pledge, saying she can't pull revenue from a transit system that depends on fares.
I'm from Buffalo. We don't put up a lot of crap. So I just want to set the stage that, you look at the history of people who run multi-million-dollar ad campaigns to try and get me to change my position.
That alone signaled to insiders that the governor wasn't fully convinced by Mamdani's math. But wait, because what the PI uncovered next might explain why those foreign donors suddenly vanished from Mamdani's filings right before Election Day. Misusing city money is one thing. Owing overseas backers and trying to pay them off through public projects is a whole different game, and this is where things start looking crooked. That same private investigator allegedly combed through NYC Campaign Finance Board audits, and what he found matched the quiet warnings insiders had whispered months ago. 88 foreign contributions to Mamdani's campaign still unreturned. The PI noticed most of those international wire transfers landed right before Mamdani's college loan records mysteriously disappeared from public disclosures. Coincidence? Could be. But then he connected one donor, a pediatrician in Dubai, to a hospital account that had reportedly been reimbursed some of its contributions through a suspicious setup. So the same network that helped bankroll his campaign is now positioned to rebuild the city under repair contracts. That's a cycle the city may never climb out of. That's how a rent freeze program becomes a reimbursement loop. And that's exactly what 50 Cent's team is calling a full-blown debt cover operation. Even O'Reilly chimed in on TV saying, if Mamdani starts seizing the means of production, you better ask whose hands it ends up in. And the receipts the PI gathered trace everything back to a trio of front companies sharing the exact same accountants out in Long Island City.
It's a supply and demand country. Now, Mamdani doesn't want that. He's not a socialist, a communist, okay? Mamdani's greatest quote is, I agree with seizing the means of production.
Yeah.
So let's break it down exactly the way the PI supposedly laid it out in his brief to 50. Step 1, freeze rents so landlords can't raise the capital needed to fix their buildings. Step 2, fine them for hazardous conditions. Step 3, the city swoops in with emergency repairs. Step 4, the cash moves through bonded LLCs tied to Mamdani's donors. Step 5, the landlord defaults and the city takes the property. Bond investors get paid off first. It's legal alchemy, turning public debt into private equity while selling voters a tenant protection story. And if those investors happen to be the same people who floated your campaign cash, that's a self-fueling machine disguised as a mayor's agenda. Before the P, I could even publish his findings. Someone from the mayor-elect's circle allegedly called his firm with a polite warning about defamation. That's when 50 decided to push the launch of NYC. The wildest part, the PI found Mamdani still owed roughly $200,000 in college loans, and those debts were allegedly marked as deferred under public service forgiveness. But here's the twist. That program doesn't apply to city officials until they've served 10 years. He's only been in the assembly since 2021, so either someone fast-tracked that relief or he tapped into a creative new pipeline using municipal funds to wipe it clean. And when reporters pressed him about it, Mamdani dodged and shifted to immigrant pride, saying New York will always be a city of immigrants, built by immigrants, led by an immigrant.
New York will remain a city of immigrants, a city built by immigrants, powered by immigrants.
Great slogan for a campaign poster, but it didn't explain how his own balance sheet magically cleared. And right when those foreign donations resurfaced, Argentina's President Javier Milei jumped in, inviting New Yorkers to move to Argentina after communist Mamdani won.
I would like to dedicate these words especially to New Yorkers who've taken the opposite path to that of Argentina and will now be living under a communist government. They should know that if the going gets tough, they will always be warmly welcomed in our land if they seek to prosper.
NYC's director Tom H. Homan warned they'd flood the zone in sanctuary cities like NYC to keep things under control.
So we're going to make New York safe again, with or without him. We would like his partnership, but if you want to stand by and let us do his job for him, that's what we'll do. We're going to make New York safer, New York City safer.
So now you've got international leaders and federal officials treating NYC like a live case study in how fast socialism drains a budget. Meanwhile, Mamdani was in Puerto Rico attending a mosque where the imam reportedly called October 7th a silver lining. Critics were saying, bro, didn't even take a breather from the campaign trail before flying off to celebrate his own win. That move alone is what the PI flagged in his update to 50, calling it classic asset transfer behavior translation. You jet offshore when you sense financial heat coming. And trust me, the heat was only starting, because what the investigator uncovered next was an alleged internal email between two city budget aides discussing rerouting transition funds to cover personal obligations. That phrase alone could end careers, and it's what made 50's lawyers step in for real. When the PI sent his final report, it wasn't just notes anymore, it was evidence. 2 internal emails, timestamped just days after the election, straight from a City Hall transition inbox, detailing the rerouting of transition donations to stabilize personal debts. According to the PI's source, those personal debts linked back to the same deferred student loans and a consulting bill from a marketing agency Mamdani allegedly used during his assembly tenure. Basically, the city's future mayor was allegedly trying to wipe old IOUs with fresh taxpayer seed money. And when 50 Cent saw that, he reportedly went off. Within hours, Ben Shapiro backed him, telling New Yorkers, if you can't handle living under socialist math, move out before they move your bank account.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that.
Fast forward to recently, Governor Hochul reportedly called for an ethics compliance audit. Meanwhile, Mamdani's press secretary tried damage control, subtly claiming these were malicious distortions by entertainers with vendettas. But the problem? The entertainer had the receipts. I'm not saying 50 Cent's P. I single-handedly uncovered the next Watergate. But follow the trail. rent freeze policies that end in seized buildings, transition funds rerouted to personal debts, campaign donors flipping into city contractors, and that isn't governance. That's a shell game. And if it's true, NYC could be the testing ground for turning capitalism into controlled debt forgiveness. Politicians, First 50 said it best in a now deleted post. They're going to tax you until you can't leave, then buy your building with your own money. Wildly enough, he might not be wrong.